Howdy there, I'm Quinn of Snazzy Labs, and this is the retro review of the Apple eMac. Though the eMac went through several iterations, the original model, as pictured here, debuted in 2002 with a G4 700MHz processor. It was originally only sold to educational institutions, but high demand caused Apple to make it publicly available to consumers as a mid-range computer in between the $999 iMac G3 and the $1,499 LCD iMac G4. The eMac also shipped with the iconic 109-key USB keyboard that was the last keyboard to feature an Apple logo on the command button. And let's not forget Apple's first optical mouse to ditch the trackball. Well, fancy that. Despite it being on the underbelly of the chassis, the eMac was also the first Mac to ship with aluminum on the outside of the machine. Despite most of the internals coming from Asia, the eMac was the last Mac series to be assembled in America. Even though it came from Apple, it was relatively user-accessible with the ability to swap out RAM sticks and to replace the CPU clock battery with ease. Though it was entirely dependent on when and from whom you purchased the eMac, RAM count was relatively low when compared to the iMac line. My eMac shipped with an odd 384 megabytes of CL3 RAM. On the side we see a flurry of I/O ports, amongst which are headphone out, audio line in, 3 USB 1.1 ports, 2 FireWire 400 ports, a modem port, an Ethernet port, and a video output port. The power button, power port, and security slot are seemingly difficult to access, probably to keep students' prying hands away. On the front of the eMac we see a microphone which probably lacks fidelity, 2 18-watt Harman Kardon speakers which actually sound impressively nice, an LED indicator light, and a peculiar tray-loading CD/DVD drive. So there's the hardware, but how is actual computing on the eMac? Let's take a closer look. eMac launched running 10.1 Puma, but soon thereafter began to ship with 10.2 Jaguar, which, if I do say so myself, is the first genuinely stable version of Macintosh OS X. eMac's default dock was a pretty stark difference from what you find in Macs today. eMac was the only Mac to ship with AppleWorks, previously known as ClarisWorks, which was Apple's then Microsoft Office competitor, absolutely free of charge. AppleWorks 6 was the last version, and the software was replaced by iWork in 2007. Version 6 of the software brought more robust presentation software to compete with the increasingly popular PowerPoint. eMac also shipped with Imovie 3. It may look crappy now, but back then it was a massive upgrade from the previous versions of iMovie and was the first truly easy and practical piece of software to make home movies on. While I personally believe that iPhoto is the crappiest piece of software Apple makes, other than iTunes, back in the day it was a decent way to manage a photo library. Again, came free on every eMac. Before the logo turned green, it was purple, and iTunes 3 was the best darned revision of iTunes ever. No videos, apps, podcasts, or any other hubbub. There wasn't even a music store yet. Just you, your music, and the 18-watt speakers on your eMac, which you can hear now. Yep, Internet Explorer. Before Safari became the default web browser in October of 2003, it was all IE and shipped standard on every Mac. And I'll tell you, for 2002, Internet Explorer was an excellent web browser. Due to legacy applications that hadn't been updated but were needed for educational use, the eMac was the last computer to ship with both Mac OS X and Mac OS 9.2 Classic. I'm not going to dive into Mac Classic, we'll save that for a whole different video, but I did want to show you an app that, though not developed by Apple, came standard on every Mac, and I wish was still developed for OS X. That app is Graphing Calculator. Nerdy, I know, but it's actually a lot more extensive than you might think. Sure, you can graph regular old linear equations with ease, but it also allowed you to graph more complex multi-dimensional equations. Even though we're sitting here 20 years later, I still haven't found an app that's a worthy replacement. Graphing Calculator even let you drag your finished graph onto the desktop to save as an image so that you could use it in an AppleWorks document or presentation. Amazingly cool. Do you guys know of a worthy replacement to the legendary application? Let me know in the comments below. So there you have it. Though Education Mac wasn't the best-selling or most revolutionary machine, it has a soft spot in the hearts of many, for reasons we may never know. Did you own one or use one back in the day? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.